How's it hanging, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and when you look at Windows Phone 7 devices, you have a lot of options, but you don't get a lot of options when it comes to keyboards. If you want a physical QWERTY keyboard, you're pretty much stuck with the HTC Arrive or the 7 Pro, depending on where you are, the Dell Venue Pro, or the LG Quantum. Which one's the best? Which one has the best keyboard? We know what we're going to do. We're going to find out in a dogfight. HTC Arrive on one hand, Dell Venue Pro on the other hand. One of these has the best physical QWERTY keyboard. One of these has the best screen. One of these is all around the best device, at least when it comes to Windows Mobile or Windows Phone 7 QWERTY. One of these is the best. We're going to figure out which one in the dogfight, but first I've got to ask you a question. I'm relocating my office in about a month, and I'm going to do something behind me. We're going to make this an epic set for Phone Dog videos like this. So if you want me to put TVs in the wall, you want me to do something special, let me know, PhoneDog_Aaron. Enough of that, let's get into the actual dogfight. Arrive Venue Pro starts right now. Two QWERTY keyboard Windows Phone 7 options on two different carriers. On one hand, you have the HTC Arrive with Sprint. It's available now for $199.99. Then you have the Dell Venue Pro. It's available in two flavors, 8GB, 16GB versions. 8GB, $100 with a contract, 16GB, $150 with a contract. Full retail, $450 and $499, depending on which version you go with. But both QWERTY options on their respective carriers. When we start out a little bit with the build quality, you'll see, this is typical HTC build quality. We saw this device, but it was branded as the HTC 7 Pro at CTIA Fall last year and at the New York Windows Phone 7 event. But still, great build quality to it. It looks good. It kind of has that tricked out grill, if you will, like the HD 7 has with a typical Windows Phone. 3 capacitive buttons at the bottom. Micro USB charging port on the bottom, volume rocker on the top left-hand corner, camera shortcut button with a, of course, the autofocus option, and a 5-megapixel camera on the back with a with HD video capture and a flash. Now on the top you have your 3.5mm headphone jack, your power button, and then you'll see over here you have the hinges, which when the hinge is open, I'm actually going to do it from the side so you can see it pops up, so you can see that that's why that hinge thing is needed on the side. So it's a pretty loud hinge. Unfortunately, there's no option to hold it flat, which presents a problem, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it presents a problem when you're trying to type kind of flat, and let's say, this is flat typing, so you can see how it's kind of uncomfortably angled versus that kind of in stock form. So anyway, battery door is metal, typical HTC, nice build quality, and has a good feel to it. You can see metal there, 1500 milliamp battery. So it's one of those things where I'm like, they put a 1500 milliamp battery in this device. Why can't they put 1500 milliamps in the other HTC devices? Things like the Inspire 4G, and some of the other devices that are running 1400, the MyTouch 4G, and a lot of the other HTC devices, because these are power-hungry operating systems with big screens. So kind of wonder why they can't do that. But anyway, 1500 milliamp battery, 3.6-inch display. So this is actually HTC's, out of all of their Windows Phone 7 devices, this is their smallest display on any of their devices, so 3.6 inches over here. Now the Venue Pro has a bigger display. It's a 4-inch display, and it's an AMOLED display. Started to say Super AMOLED and caught myself. It's an AMOLED display and 4 inches. And then the specs over here are very similar. 1 GHz Snapdragon processor, 5-megapixel camera with HD video recording capabilities, those 3 capacitive buttons on the bottom. Now what's different here, the keyboard is a portrait keyboard, so you slide it up to get to the keyboard as opposed to sliding it to the side. Say that 3 times fast. The keyboard's good on both of these devices. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't want to spoil it too much. But you'll see that Windows Phone 7 is an operating system that's still very much in its infancy. And you look at it and it's not optimized for landscape mode just yet. So here I can pop it up, I can use the keyboard and go back to normal, whereas with this one, for example, you'll notice the operating system is so new it doesn't go into landscape mode or do a lot of stuff when I kick open the keyboard, with the exception of a couple of apps like messaging and the web browser and some of those. So landscape keyboard's nice, gives a little bit more space, but still the operating system's not optimized for it just yet. But both of these are running Windows Phone 7. This one is running the famed Noto update, which I believe is out for the Venue Pro. I actually just powered this thing on for the first time today, so we'll see if it's available. It should pop up and ask me. But anyway, comes with the Noto update on the Arrive, and what that does, among other things, is it enables copy and paste. So, okay, yeah, you notify me. So hopefully it'll notify me in the next day or so. But I think this one has Noto as well, or at least it's available, so people that have the Venue Pro should be getting that shortly. Anyway, it allows copy and paste, and we'll show that off in just a second. But overall, both of these devices have fantastic keyboards. These keys are all together, whereas the keys on the HTC Arrive are island keys. And while we're on that, let's jump into messaging and take a look. Let's go into messaging, for example, and we'll type a new message just so you can see. And one thing I will point out on this device, you'll see the volume rocker on the right-hand side, camera button on the left, nothing on the, or camera button on the right, rather, nothing on the left, and your camera on the top, 3.5mm headphone jack and power button both up there, and then your speaker and your micro USB charging port down there at the bottom. Now this is a big device. When you open it up and you look at how big it is, it's a big device. I mean, compare it to the Arrive, which is, I'll close it for you. When that keyboard's open, it's a big honking device, and even when it's closed, it's a big device as well. So keep that in mind. If you want something that's compact, this is not your device. So type a message and say, quick brown fox wants beer and some nachos. That sounds pretty good. Quick brown fox wants a beer and some nachos. So you can see, quick, easy to type on. I like the keyboard a lot. There's no lag whatsoever. And then if you want to use the on-screen keyboard, you can. Which is great as well. I've been very pleased with the on-screen keyboard. Now you'll notice that the 4-inch display is slightly curved. And let me put my hand behind it so you can see. Slightly curved display, and you'll notice it the most when you're doing on-screen functions like typing or something that requires a lot of use of the on-screen keyboard, or the web browser, anything that requires scrolling, stuff like that. You'll notice it is slightly contoured, but I think it, for me, it hasn't impacted my ability to type at all. And overall, the big screen makes it really, really easy to type on. Now let's go to messaging on this one. Click on this. We'll start with the virtual QWERTY and go from there. So the quick brown fox. Whoops. Quick brown fox is a cool mama jamma. So you can see, still easy to type on. I love the keyboard. Windows Phone 7, one of the best on-screen keyboards, but still kind of frustrating to type on because of that display. 3.6 as opposed to 4, and it's noticeable when you use both of these devices that it's a much smaller display. Now physical keyboard, on the other hand, not bad at all. Island keys, 5 rows, 1 row dedicated to numbers, 1 row dedicated to the spacebar, which, if you've watched my videos, you know how much I love that. But you can see I'm angling it right now to type, so I'm angling the keys down versus doing it like this, so I can type, and you can see how that screen's kind of off-aligned or misaligned. The quick brown fox is a cool dude. So I mean, a lot of spelling errors there, and I think that a lot of that's as a result of not being able to see the screen the way that I'd like to see it. So let's take a look at copy and paste, and you'll see, let's go over here, we'll pick a word, for example, and you'll see that little option pop up. I can go down here, I can highlight a certain phrase, I can click that, and you see how it pops up right there. Now it's copied, so I can paste it anywhere. I want to get rid of this message. Let's say I want to paste it in, bam. And then if I want to see that again, let's say I want to paste it more than once. This was an initial thing I saw, and somebody actually called me out on Twitter. If I wanted to paste it again, all I have to do is swipe, and it brings it back. Swipe, brings it back. So you get the idea. Bam. So copy-paste functionality is now in this one, and it should be coming to the Venue Pro. So as a brief overview of the operating system, you can see very clean, and this is what Microsoft calls Metro UI. It's designed after subway tiles, most likely the subway in Seattle, but you can see, very clean, very easy to use. Simply swipe over and you can get access to your applications. Now out of the box in the Venue Pro, you get Family Room, which is T-Mobile's program where you can kind of get together kind of a campfire room or a chat room, and you can do some things there. Games, you have your My Account, T-Mobile My Account, Microsoft Office pre-installed, Telenav GPS, and T-Mobile TV, which is a feature I'll show you in just a sec. On this one, oh, one more thing, you have Newsroom, which is Dell's program. We'll jump into that in a minute and take a look at it, because you do get some of this stuff over on this one. There's always a manufacturer installed program. So you can see from here, I can access weather, I can access news, stocks, and more. So I have all of these options to check out, my Newsroom, for lack of a better word. That's exactly what it is. Now over here, you have Xbox Live Games, HTC Hub, YouTube, which I don't know why it's called HTC YouTube, but the photo enhancer, you have sound enhancer, speed tester, which is an app I downloaded, Twitter, and then telenav. So you have telenav from Sprint, and then you can go to the Sprint zone and download additional applications. Now that this device is out, we'll have to take a look at that, because when I tested it before, it was a couple days before the retail launch and everything wasn't quite ready. So we'll check that again. But Xbox on this, and you can see the HTC hub, and as soon as this pops up, you're going to realize how familiar it is, because obviously Windows Phone 7, Microsoft has not allowed customizations to Windows Phone 7 yet. I don't know if that's going to change when Nokia jumps into the ring or not, but they don't allow customizations, and HTC really wants to promote Sense. So they promote it through this little application called HTC Hub, where the weather's there, looks very similar. You can see, bam, it pops up, and if actually this, if it really looks familiar to you, this is part of what's coming in HTC Sense 3.0, which is what the Evo 3D is running, and a couple of the other newer devices, the HTC Sensation, which was announced today. But you can see weather there. It's going to bring up the current temperature, 66 degrees, and it brings up the weather for the rest of the week, and of course the typical animations that you know and love from HTC Sense. So it's an operating system, like I said, that's very much in its infancy. So while there are pros to it, there are also cons, one of which, you don't have the option to choose which ones are square and which ones are rectangular. I mean, you look at this and you say, why is calendar rectangular, but let's say messaging isn't? And I'm hoping this will come in a future update where I can scroll up and down through here, and I can see benefits to making Google Mail a rectangular widget, or messaging a rectangular widget, because you could see previews of your messages or previews of your email, and actually when you have a calendar appointment, you can see previews out here. So it kind of made me wonder why they didn't do that option, but as of right now at least, there's no option to convert between square and rectangle. So something to keep in mind. Like I said, it's still very much in its infancy. It's a new operating system, so with that comes some minor frustrations like that. Let's take a look at the browser on these devices. Let's do Internet Explorer. Load up Internet Explorer here, and keep in mind, I mean, these are both Windows Phone 7 devices, so the overall performance, if you will, the overall way it looks is going to be exactly the same. But I mean, the browser, probably my favorite thing about Windows Phone 7 is the browser. And I don't, this doesn't really do it justice. The camera doesn't really show this off, but the display is absolutely gorgeous on the Venue Pro. I really do have to give them credit, as much as they screwed up the arrow and really botched the launch of that. This is a really nice display, and all around it seems to be a really nice device. So let's go to Phone Dog. Can't type. Phone Dog. There we go. Phone Dog. And we'll wait for that to load up. So, but like I was saying, the display, very nice on that. Now you look at these buttons down here at the bottom, and you're like, what do these mean? I star, 2 pages. What exactly is that? Well, if you know what they are, obviously pages, bookmarks, things like that. But if you want to figure out what they are, all you have to do is click these 3 dots right here, bring that up, and you'll see the text below. So you can see add, favorites, and tabs. And then of course you get your settings depending on where you're at in the browser, forward, share page, settings, etc. But let's say I want to create a second tab. Pop over here to see it in. Pop back to Phone Dog. So all in all, just a really impressive performance, really impressive with the graphics. And it's funny because as Windows Phone 7, I mean, the transition effects are fantastic, but you notice some lag, if you will, when transitioning, but because of those transition effects, it really takes the eye off of it. So you can see a little bit of a lag, about 2 seconds when transitioning, 1, 2. But because of that transition effect, that catchy little transition effect that the page does, you don't notice it as much. So like I've said before, it's all about perception. You can have a 3 or 4 second lag, but if it's perceived well, it doesn't really come across as a lag. So you can see very similar with this one as well. Pinch to zoom. Now granted, it doesn't support flash right now, so you'll notice that none of the advertisements are popping up. That said, pinch to zoom, absolutely wonderful on Windows Phone 7, and same thing over here. You can see absolutely fantastic. Text comes up nice and large, very easy to read. So pinch in, pinch out, bring it up, bring it in like that, double tap. So very easy to use, and it looks great. I mean, I can't really show it off on camera. This isn't doing enough for it. It really looks great, and it's very fast. So straight off, if you want Flash and you go with something like Android or HTML5 on iOS, might be a little bit slower, but this is definitely speedy. But you do pay the price in not having the ability to use Flash.